Good evening, Dylan. I just want to do a radio check so I can make sure everything's working correctly.
Yep, I can hear you just fine, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. This is a virtual meeting using the Zoom platform. Members of the public can view this meeting live on Channel 8 or the city's website. Live Spanish translation services are being provided for tonight's council meeting by telephone. Please dial 720-386-9023 and use code 104091. If you are a council member, please be sure to have your video camera on and be mindful that we are streaming this meeting on Channel 8 and on our city's website. The chat function has been disabled to ensure that the public can see all portions of the meeting. The city clerk is the host of the meeting and I, our IT director, will be the co-host. Council members, commissioners, board members, and panelists will be able to unmute themselves when recognized. Please mute yourself when you have finished speaking to prevent disruptions. Members of the public who have registered to speak will be recognized at the proper time. Any votes taken will require roll call votes. The clerk will call your name for you to give your vote. No commentary will be allowed outside of an A or nay vote. At this time, we'll call the Urban Renewal Authority special meeting to order and ask the secretary to call the roll.
Chair Huseman.
Present.
Vice Chair Frank.
Present.
Commissioner Madera.
Present.
Commissioner Alan Thomas.
Present.
Commissioner Noble. Commissioner Guardiola.
Present.
Commissioner Hurst.
Present.
Commissioner Grimes.
Present.
Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Fairfield. Commissioner Lewis.
Present.
Commissioner Tedesco.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I'm looking for a motion to excuse those members not present. Board Member Frank.
Motion to excuse those board members that are not present.
Thank you. Board Member Madera.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to excuse those members not present. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Madera.
Yes.
Commissioner Alan Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Noble. Commissioner Guardiola.
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Grimes,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Fairfield, Commissioner Lewis,
Yes.
Commissioner Tedesco,
Yes.
Vice Chair Frank,
Yes.
uh, Chair Huseman.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thanks, sir. First on the agenda is a presentation on Derby area lighting improvements. Will Mr. Roger Tinklenberg please make the introductory comments and introduce Jenna Lowry to make the presentation?
Thank you, sir. In 2018, we had presented a plan for improvements in the Derby area, and that is one of the Urban Renewal Authority renewal areas. And since there's been changeover in personnel on the board, we thought we ought to bring this back to you. What we're proposing to do is improve the lighting in the Derby area, but that will come after South Adams County Water and Sanitation District makes underground utility improvements. They need to upgrade a number of their water mains. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jenna Lowry, and she will make the presentation.
Thank you very much, sir. Board members, I will go ahead and share my screen, so bear with me for just one moment, please. All right, good evening, URA board members. As Mr. Tinklenberg mentioned, I'm here tonight to discuss the Derby Downtown District. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to review the need to revitalize this historic neighborhood, summarize the Derby area lighting plan that was approved in 2018, and to request the board's direction on how to move forward with that plan. This slide is simply an aerial map of the Derby district, so we can go ahead and dive into the meat of the presentation. As you are all likely aware, the current levels of illumination are inconsistent throughout the Derby neighborhood. There are variations in placement, lamp type, bulb color, and installation date. These variations are not conducive to feelings of safety or vibrancy, and they cause patrons to wonder if businesses are open. The inconsistencies also cause several maintenance challenges. That all being said, the 2018 lighting plan did highlight the positive impacts that updating the neighborhood's lighting would lead to. These positive benefits include making the district more walkable, safer, and more desirable for residents, as well as future development. Updating the lighting could also deter camping in the area. In addition to these benefits laid out in the plan, it is also important to consider implications of switching to all LED light bulbs. So looking at trends, currently many cities from across the globe are converting their street lighting to LED, including 30% of all outdoor lights in the US. These cities are making or have made the decision to implement public lighting programs to foster economic growth and increase community safety, but there are energy saving benefits as well. Research shows that LED bulbs are up to 50% more energy efficient than traditional sodium bulbs and will burn for approximately 15 to 20 years. As such, LED street lighting is one of the most visible energy efficient projects that a city can undertake. Of course, converting the Derby district to LED lighting will have an upfront cost. In order to start the project, the city would need to negotiate ownership of street lighting assets with Xcel Energy. Additionally, purchasing the necessary LED light bulbs will be expensive. LED bulbs can cost 2 to 4 times more than traditional sodium bulbs, but although the capital costs are higher, the energy and cost savings potential of converting the public lighting do in fact outweigh the initial investment and physical retrofitting. In addition to those upfront costs, it is important to consider the long-term costs associated with maintenance. On average, one high-pressure sodium bulb has 2 rounds of outlays for replacement before a single LED bulb would need one, which is great. But if we do decide to take action on the lighting plan, then we will need to create a maintenance strategy for the new city-owned light fixtures. This could be challenging because facilities does not have the staff capacity needed to create the plan. Also, maintenance for these types of matters is usually contracted out to a third party. Moving on now to specifics that are covered in the lighting plan, this slide provides a summary of the areas of concern that were identified in a previous study. As you can see, the red represents small area poles that would function as streetlights and pedestrian poles. The orange represents large area poles that would benefit drivers only. And the green represents festoon lighting for the park, but is not necessary to meet increased lighting standards. Each of these colors has an associated recommended fixture, which we'll look at here on our next slide. These fixtures were selected during a process to plan for lighting and signage that would form a cohesive visual identity in the district. In fact, the poles feature a custom red paint that will match the future entryway sign. Please note that the two poles inside of the red boxes represent the small area poles discussed on the last slide. So as mentioned earlier, implementing this plan will have an upfront cost. This slide was created to provide the board with a comprehensive overview of the different options, including staff's recommendations, which have been indicated by the blue font. Staff recommends focusing on the small area poles that benefit both pedestrians and drivers with a combination of short and medium light distribution. Staff also recommends opting for the more complex control package, but would be comfortable using the standard package as well. Essentially, that more expensive package is a networked smart wireless control system that would provide usage feedback and would be advantageous for future implementation of smart city, Wi-Fi, or digital monitoring systems such as temperature, traffic, and roadway conditions. Now, before any poles or packages can be installed, there are a few installation challenges that we must mitigate. The primary barrier to installation is that water and sewer lines will need to be redone in order to meet service needs of future development. Unfortunately, when the lighting plan was originally made, we were not aware of this issue. The second barrier is that overhead utilities will need to be relocated underground in order to make room for new fixtures. Since the streets throughout Derby are narrow and there is ample overhead in place, undergrounding will be costly. The good news is that the necessary work to replace water mains, sewers, and electrical poles could coincide with existing projects. And the Water District has actually identified the Derby area for work in their 2021 project plan. The caveat to that is that our Public Works Department is about 2 to 3 years away from being caught up on already scheduled projects, and implementing this lighting plan will certainly be a high volume project. But Public Works Project Manager can rearrange priorities if the City Manager's office and the URA board flag the LED streetlight conversion as a priority. So this is a map that the Water District provided to show where the sewer lines will need to be improved. And this is a map from the lighting plan that shows where current electrical poles and power lines can be reused to save money. The orange circles on the screen indicate areas where reuse is possible. So let's talk about exactly how the URA can fund the Derby lighting project. Well, the Derby Catalyst Fund has approximately $613,000 available. We can also use undergrounding funds. A third option would be community development block grant funds for residential areas and potentially mixed use areas. Finally, we can also explore federal grant options. course, as you all know, some funds have already been requested or set aside for Derby, and those funds include a project to repair pavers at Monaco and 72nd, some lighting funds, but not enough to fully fund this endeavor, and a plan to work on core city infrastructure in 2023. Now, with all that information in mind, and I realize it's quite a bit, so I can certainly go back to any slides. I laid out the options for the board to consider. Staff's recommendations have again been indicated with blue font. And please note that the prices outlined here do not include costs for water infrastructure updates, electrical pole installation, power updates, cost of labor, or markups. And I won't read this slide to you since I know you all can see it. My only other slide in this presentation is our discussion slide. So I can leave this slide up or go back to others to help guide the conversation. And Roger and I are both available to answer your questions. I will try to get your videos back up on the screen as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. At this time, are there any commissioners that have any questions or want to take any action? Commissioner Ellen Thomas.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I'm just curious, has the city staff looked into a possible solar light system as well, so the city can receive energy credits?
Roger, would you like to field that question? I'm not familiar with that endeavor.
I'm not either. We would have to check into that to see if that's feasible.
Okay,
But
thank
we
you.
can certainly check. Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, if you can, I'm just wondering, is that a possibility as well?
Certainly.
Thanks.
Commissioner Noble.
Thank you. And first of all, let me apologize for being late to the meeting. I managed not to be able to figure out how to link in tonight. So again, my apologies. This is really wonderful. My first question is, what does the Derby Review Board have to say about this?
So the Derby
With the city of Commerce City.
Sure. So the lighting and signage plan from 2018 was put together under the board's direction. So to my best knowledge, they are in support of executing the plan in its full. Now, of course, some of the staff recommendations that we made, were independent of that board, but the board was meeting regularly prior to COVID.
Okay, as long as the folks in Derby are on board, that's good. I concur with Commissioner Ellen Thomas about using solar lighting, if at all possible. I realize a lot of work has gone into putting this together, but that would be a great option, especially if there are any refunds available because of the energy that we're using. I would say that after all these years that Derby residents have been waiting for something to happen in this area, I couldn't be happier about a new lighting system coming in. So I would endorse making this happen. And in some cases, I think I'm decision 1 purchase from Excel, decision 2 work with South Adams. And I can't make a decision about maintenance because I feel like that's a city decision as to what's most cost effective. And install all lighting in the downtown lighting plan, so long as we make sure that we're using the best available lighting, given that it's been a few years since this was put together.
Absolutely. And thank you for all of those comments, ma'am. Solar energy has certainly come quite a long ways in the last couple of years, so we can look into that. And in the meantime, we do have a lot of great research on LED. So regardless, we will get the neighborhood what they need, and we'll hopefully come back to you with some news on the solar research.
Oh, thank you very much.
Commissioner Wadiola.
Thank you. On decision 4, install all priority lighting, how long after will we do all lighting in the downtown plan? Do we have a time or just a estimate,
I would imagine it would be as funds are available. Is that accurate, Roger?
Yes.
Yeah, so the reason we went with the all priority lighting is, it's significantly lower of a cost, and we want to get, the immediate lights in to increase pedestrian safety. Of course, the board could decide to go ahead and install all lighting now. That's the beauty of South Adams updating their 5-year plan to work with us. As soon as they update their infrastructure, we can go in and put poles in, whether or not that's just a priority or all lighting. But again, as soon as the board wants to allocate the additional funds, we could schedule the rest of the project.
Okay, thank you. So I would definitely do what staff recommends, but for decision 4, I would try to get to as close as installing all the downtown lighting as we can with the funds available. I think going back and having to do it again, it just seems, I don't know. And again, if the funds are available, I'd like to install all of them. I think this neighborhood has been wanting something, or the whole city has been wanting to do something in Derby, and it's been just put on the back burner. So decision 1, 2, and 3 go with staff's recommendation, and I would like to see all the downtown, but if not, priority is fine with me.
One of one of the elements is that there is limited funding, and so the intent was to also take care of some of the road improvements at the same time. So, but we can analyze how far the money will go, and if necessary, come back to you guys for final decision.
Thank you, Roger.
Commissioner Grimes.
Thank you, Mayor. I would echo exactly Councilman Wardiola's recommendations, including it as money allows, as budget allows, to do as much of the lighting as possible the first time around, with the understanding that there are some other improvements that need to be made as well at the same time.
Vice Chair Frank.
When will the entryway sign be installed?
It's currently budgeted, and the staff got a preliminary design that exceeded the budget, so they're reworking the design to try to make that fit the budget. So
Is that
okay.
I'm
sorry.
Is that something that will, because they were talking about the, having the poles red paint to match the Derby sign, and so I was just thinking it would be nice if all of that kind of happened at once, so it seems more like an overhaul of the entire kind of Derby area. So I just wanted to see if that could happen at the same time.
Currently, we were anticipating the sign would happen first, but we certainly could phase that all together if that's the preference.
It was just a thought.
Okay.
Are there any other commissioners wishing to speak or ask questions or take action on this item? Commissioner Madera?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to go with staff's recommendations, except for decision 4 to install all lighting as funds become available.
Thank you. I have a motion to go with staff recommendations on decision 1, 2, and 3, and to install all downtown lighting plan as funds become available. Commissioner Noble. Commissioner Noble.
I'll second that. And can we use 2K dollars?
We could. That would be a decision for city council.
But it would qualify under transportation with 2K?
The streetlights portion would, yes, and road improvements would.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second to accept staff recommendations on decision 1, 2, and 3 for the Derby area lighting plan and to install all lighting in downtown Commerce City as funds become available. Is there any discussion on this item? Commissioner Grimes?
Sorry, I had my hand raised for the second.
Is there any discussion? Commissioner Alan Thomas?
Only discussion is, can staff continue, like I said previously, just look into possibly the possibility of including some solar lighting as well?
Yes.
We will definitely look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Madera,
Yes.
Commissioner Alan Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Noble,
Yes.
Commissioner Guardiola,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Grimes,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Fairfield, Commissioner Lewis,
Yes.
Commissioner Tedesco,
Yes.
Vice Chair Frank,
Yes.
Mayor Huseman.
Yes,
Passes 10-0.
thank you for that. Next on the agenda is a public hearing for resolution URA 2020-03 for adopting the 2021 budget. Tonight's public hearing is on the 2021 budget. The hearing is open tonight and continue to November 2nd to allow for additional comment. No vote on the budget will occur tonight. This time I will open the public hearing and invite Shara Karstens, the Director of Finance, to make the presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, URA board members. As indicated, I'm here to discuss the URA budget. As part of your packet, the resolution for the URA was included along with the URA budget labeled draft. We do that because it has not been adopted yet. I have a short presentation. If you can bring that presentation up, Dylan, I would appreciate it. And if you could advance to the next slide, please. This is a recap of the items that you hopefully reviewed within the packet. We are projecting total revenues to be just over $1.4 million, broken down into property tax. I want to point out that we use the same valuation as last year. Adams County notified us that the valuations would be coming out late this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we kept the property tax at the same value as last year. For that reason, we do anticipate we will have that at any time. We're projecting miscellaneous revenue of just shy of $300,000. That transfer in is from the general fund for $83,000 that is specifically earmarked for the Derby Catalyst funds. And then this transfer shown from fund balance of $525,000 is reflective of the two projects that Ms. Lowry just reviewed. That is the Derby improvement, which is the removal and repair of pavers located at the intersection of Monaco and 72nd Place, and the Derby lighting improvements. In terms of expenditures, we show a balanced budget, which is required by law. Under administrative expenditures, that covers a variety of things that are broken out in more detail in the document we provided. Those are a variety of expenditures for various agreements that we have with the URA. It also includes costs for the Derby Catalyst program, property tax collection fees, and then we have the transfer to debt service of $456,700. Any item, revenues that exceed budget or revenues that exceed expenditures do go to fund balance, and we track them in the various urban renewal plan areas. As Chair Huseman indicated on the next slide, if you would move to that, Dylan. Tonight opens the public hearing. We are asking that be opened until November 2nd. Once that public hearing is closed, we would ask that that budget be adopted, which then authorizes us to certify the mill levy by the required date of December 15th. I'd like to also make note that per charter requirement, we do have the draft document online at c3gov.com. As well, we have a hard copy that is on file at the front lobby desk of the Civic Center in the event that anybody wants to stop by for public inspection of that document. At this time, I will field any questions that you have, or Mr. Tinklenberg will also interject as well.
Do any commissioners have any questions for staff regarding this item? Do not see any. Mr. Secretary, has anyone registered to speak on this item?
Chair Huseman, no members of the public registered to speak on this public hearing.
And have any written comments been received?
No written comments were received by the deadline either.
Thank you. This time I'm looking for a motion and a second to continue the public hearing to November 2nd. Vice Chair Frank.
Motion to continue the public hearing to November 2nd.
Thank you. Commissioner Grimes.
Second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to continue the public hearing to November 2nd. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a voice vote.
Commissioner Madera,
Yes.
Commissioner Alan Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Noble,
Yes.
Commissioner Wardiola,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Grimes,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Fairfield, Commissioner Lewis,
Yes.
Commissioner Tedesco,
Yes.
Vice Chair Frank,
Yes.
Chair Huseman,
Yes.
passes 10-0.
Thank you. Last item on our agenda this evening is Resolution URA 2020-05 to amend the 2020 budget. Are there any commissioners that have any questions regarding this resolution? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve Resolution URA 2020-05. Commissioner Alan Thomas.
I make a motion to approve resolution URA 2020-05.
Thank you. Commissioner Grimes.
Second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution URA 2020-05. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Madera,
Yes.
Commissioner Alan Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Noble,
Yes.
Commissioner Wardiola,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Grimes,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Fairfield, Commissioner Lewis,
Yes.
Commissioner Tedesco,
Yes.
Vice Chair Frank,
Yes.
Chair Huseman,
Yes.
passes 10-0.
Thank you. That concludes all the business we have for the Urban Renewal Authority special meeting. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance. This meeting is adjourned. This time we will move on to the council meeting using the same Zoom meeting. And it looks like we have everybody minus the commissioners for the URA, so I will call the meeting to order. Ask City Clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Huseman,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Frank,
Present.
Councilmember Madera,
Present.
Councilmember Alan Thomas,
Present.
Councilmember Noble,
Present.
Councilmember Wardiola,
Present.
Councilmember Hurst,
Present.
Councilmember Grimes,
Present.
Councilmember Smith. Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I'm looking for a motion and a second to excuse those members not present. Councilwoman Grimes.
So moved.
Councilwoman Alan Thomas.
Second the motion.